Hello, my name is Andrew Grande, and I'm going to be doing a critical assignment presentation. This is for my kinesiology course 473, Research Methods and Evaluation in Kinesiology for California Baptist University. Testing for the estimation of performance power has always been an interest for a lot of people involved in sports, also in sports science. And the way that they test these power performances are in various ways, and the way that I've learned through this class how to measure performance power has been through jump high or squat jumps or counter movement jumps. And the two main common stretches that are used before these performance tests are static stretching and dynamic stretching. And static stretching consists usually of a stretch with a hold for about 10 to 30 seconds, while dynamic stretching usually contains a stretch with some certain specific movements as you stretch. As you can see, the girl right here in my PowerPoint, she is doing static stretches, and she will hold these type of stretches for 10 to 30 seconds. And on the other picture is dynamic stretch, and you can see that the certain type of movements that you'll be doing while you stretch. And it's vital for an athlete to choose the correct type of warm-up when expected to perform at their full capacity. And the principal interest of this study was what type of pregame stretching exercises, the dynamic stretch or static stretch, is most beneficial for improving performance power in athletes. The purpose of this study mainly was to find valid and reliable scientific evidence that supports the effects of pregame dynamic and static stretching on performance power, and as well as to determine which warm-up technique will better assist athletes in performance power. And this also helps our knowledge in the advantage of knowing what type of pregame warm-up stretches would be best beneficial to suggest to athletes who are in recreational activities that involve high muscular power. This study also advances our knowledge in the negative effects of pregame static stretching when it's used as a warm-up for performance athletic power. And significance to these field tests are to be able to provide athletes with the correct information, as well as provide them with suggestions, advantages, and disadvantages towards the effects of pregame warm-up routines, as well as the disadvantage that one will have over the other one in performance enhancement power. And this issue is very important for athletes all over the world. As an athlete, you want to know what type of stretching is best for you and how it can help you and enhance your performance in whatever it is. And this is important for me as an athlete as well. I've been playing recreational hockey for over 15 years, and it's important for me to know what type of stretching routine would benefit me the most and help me with my performance power and help me last longer and endurance out there in the rink. So the research question to this study was, what are the effects of pregame dynamic stretching versus static stretching on the measurement of athletic performance power? And the hypothesis is that pregame dynamic stretching will have a greater effect on performance power over pregame static stretching when used in warm-ups. And the participants to my hypothetical study was 20 male NCAA male hockey players from the University of Michigan. And they are the ones that volunteered and conducted the study hypothetically. And the way I would do it would be run a report of history of injuries, and none of my athletes had no report of history of injuries or prior complications. And subject had over 5 years of hockey experience and played at least 2 to 3 times a week for over a year. And the mean and standard deviation for age was 20 years, as you can see the difference of negative positive. The height was approximately 181 centimeters, and their weight was 80.7 approximately kilograms. And the procedures to this field test was done in 3 consecutive days while the subjects were in off-season of competitive college play. And the 3 days consisted of 1 day of testing, followed by another day which was called the rest day. That was the second day of 24 hours of recovery, and then followed by the third day, which was 1 more day of testing. On the first testing day, each group had a warm-up protocol consisting of 5 minutes of aerobic stationary cycle as a warm-up at 50 watts, and then they performed the vertical jump test measure. And on the third day of testing, after the recovery day, which was 24 hours, each group had a warm-up protocol consisting of 5 minutes of aerobic stationary cycle at the same at 50 watts. But this time it was followed up by another 5 minutes of stretching. Either the group was dynamic stretch or static stretch. And the static stretch was performed in one series of 10 seconds hold duration of moderate intensity. And the dynamic stretching consisted of one series of 10 repetitions for each stretch with moderate intensity to the point of slight discomfort. And each warm-up session lasted about approximately 10 minutes with the warm-up of the 5-minute cycle and the 5-minute stretch. And the instrumentation that was used for the measure on power performance was a vertical jump height, and each session the subjects were asked to perform 3 vertical jump height reaches, and they had 60-second interval breaks in between, and the largest score of the measurement was recorded. And the statistical test of it resulted in vertical jump performance performed by the experimental groups of pregame warm-up stretch condition dynamic stretch. This was done through a t-test, paired t-test, and the statistical significance for the analysis resulted that dynamic stretch was proved significant at greater than 0.05. And the objective, once again, for this study was to compare the effect of pregame dynamic stretching to static stretching, and to determine if any of these stretches techniques used as a warm-up will lead to changes in athletic performance power. And the findings indicated that dynamic warm-up stretches did enhance measures in performance power in vertical jump height. Findings also resulted that there were no real significance in enhancement in performance power vertical jump height when static stretching was the independent variable when it was used as a warm-up. A recommendation for future research in this study would be to experiment with the stretching duration, the stretching intensity, and the rest interval between stretches. This will definitely help athletes know and understand how long of a duration or intensity is recommended when doing your warm-up stretching, so they could perform at their maximal performance power level. In conclusion, with all the results that were found in the study and the literature that supports the use of dynamic stretching over static stretching, it was concluded and verified that dynamic stretching should be chosen over static stretching as a pregame warm-up to enhance athletic performance power. Thank you, and this concludes my presentation.